Coming up next on the Social Hour, we've got Twitter's IPO to talk about what does it mean for how the social network may change in the future. Plus, Facebook is relaunching its like buttons. Do you like them? And Instagram doesn't want you selling drugs on the network. All that and more next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for the Social Hour is brought to you by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is the Social Hour with Sarah Lane and Amber MacArthur, episode 136, recorded Friday, November 8th, 2013. This episode of the Social Hour is brought to you by Social Media Solutions from SAP. If you're a social media manager at a large enterprise, gain insight and engage in social media with Social Media Solutions from SAP to improve your customer service and support experience. Take a guided tour at sap.com/twit. And by audible.com. To download a free audiobook of your choice, go to audiblepodcast.com/social hour. And by lynda.com. Learn what you want when you want with access to over 2,000 high-quality online courses and training videos, all for one low monthly price. To try it free for 7 days, visit lynda.com/social hour. That's LYNDA.com/social hour. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Social Hour, your hour of everything social media tips, tricks, spotlights, news. With me, Sarah Lane, who is live in the Twit World headquarters in Petaluma, California.
And I'm Amber MacArthur, and I'm back in Toronto at my little home studio here. And happy to be here, Sarah, because I know last week I was connecting from a hotel. It's not always that dependable, but fortunately it wasn't that bad. But feeling good being here. Yeah, we made it work. You know, it's not always perfect.
You and I are well aware of the constraints of being remote hosts, co-hosts of a show.
Yes.
But I think for the most part, for a couple broads, we do okay.
Yes, we do. I mean, really, if all else fails, my one tip is not to move at all. So if your video freezes, it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, exactly. People just say, she's a stoic one, that Amber. Now, I have to just say, I know some of the people who are listening to the audio version of the show can't see you, but you've kind of got a new look. Your hair's different.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because I'm really not into hair fashion very much, but I kept hearing about women getting this ombre done to their hair. I don't even know if that's how you pronounce it. And it basically is kind of darker at the top and then lighter as it goes down to the bottom. So I decided to give it a try for the winter. It's less upkeep because here I'll share a little secret on the Social Hour. This is close to my natural color. I'm not really blonde. So not as much to maintain as far as the roots. So that's good news, Sarah.
Well, you are... probably something I might want to think about as well at some point. I think it looks great. I think it's fresh, and you know, at first I was like, oh my gosh, but it's not a huge difference. So
yeah, it's not too bad. And I have to say that anytime I've gone dark before, I've done it because all of a sudden I'm like, I want to turn my hair back to brown, and I'll go and get a little bottle from the drugstore, and I do it, and it just doesn't look that good. So hopefully taking 3.5 hours, because that's how long it took. Thank goodness there was Wi-Fi at the salon. It is worthwhile, and it will grow out and look relatively normal. That's my hope.
I think you probably, yeah. I mean, I hope that for you as well. You know, I'd laugh and say 3.5 hours, that's crazy, but it's not. That's how long it takes. I don't know why, but yes, before I had an iPad with data capabilities, being in the salon was not fun. And now I'm like, I could sit here all day. I'm just working.
Yeah, I'm in exactly the same boat. I just work the whole time, and I actually schedule stuff that I'm going to do while I'm there. So it's all good. And I got ready for the show while I was there, got lots of different links. But of course, Sarah, the biggest news of the week is Twitter's IPO. Everybody talking about that over the past couple of days. And, you know, it was funny. I had one of our national news reporters ask me to comment on it. I decided not to do the interview because I never really know what to say about these situations, because it's kind of like, from an end user's perspective, maybe not a big impact on them.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of funny. We talked about the fact that Twitter was expanding photos and videos, at least from certain services, in the web version of Twitter and the official Twitter apps, which is something that some people are not crazy about. They think it messes it up. It makes it, you know, just sort of more jumbled, makes it seem more like Facebook. But Brian, if you want to bring up that IPO notice that Twitter posted, this kind of seems like a blog post, right? No, that's a tweet with an image that shows more detail about Twitter's official IPO pricing, which actually works out really well. I mean, it's as if Twitter has figured out the perfect place to embed press releases.
I never really thought about that.
Yeah, into Twitter. But instead of it being some sort of like a blog.twitter.com, which there is that as well, this is just a tweet with all the information you need. It's an image form, and then you can reply and retweet and favorite and that sort of thing, which I believe this is such a good example of, even though they're talking about the IPO, which is a big deal, this is something that Twitter is using as an example of, see, you can make a tweet something that's very rich in content without actually having to have somebody jump out into, another browser tab or something for more information.
Yeah, that was a smart move. It's funny, when I saw that particular tweet, I never really thought about it like that, but it makes perfect sense. I mean, I was reading the press release right there on the Twitter page, so I'm guessing more and more people are going to do things like this because it seems like the perfect format to be able to do so. But yeah, a ton of people talking about this. I don't know, Sarah, what do you, I mean, wasn't a big surprise to me. So as far as it being that newsworthy, it just seems like maybe the price surprised me, but other than that, no big shocker there.
Yeah, I mean, the price started in the 20s, jumped up about 78%, seems to have settled in the mid 40s. And yeah, I'm with you, Amber. When we cover the financial side of something like a big social network like Twitter, it's kind of like, well, I mean, I don't have any shares, so it's fun to think about it from afar. But really, as consumers who are using Twitter on a daily basis, how does this change things? Well, it doesn't change things at all for anybody. What will change is Twitter is now on the line with the public. Anybody who's a general public shareholder now. Is counting on Twitter to continue to make money and have a revenue model that works. Facebook's actually doing pretty well these days, but faced all the same challenges when it had its IPO. This is sort of just the same story all over again, and that's where you potentially get into trouble with a company like Twitter. Is how much does the model that we all know and love, the people that are Twitter users anyway, how does that model change in order for the company to make money without alienating us?
Yeah, I mean, we're just bound to see more and more advertising, I think. And at the end of the day, they're going to have to do that, like you said, just to be able to kind of please everyone. So that also shouldn't come as a surprise. Now, here's another headline that does impact people, I think, individually. And this is about YouTube commenting and the fact that you will have to use your Google Plus account to leave a comment on YouTube. This is something that they are starting to roll out just now. Now, I saw a lot of people who were up in arms about this, furious that you have to do this. I think I'm closer to the TechCrunch article that we're showing right now, in the sense that the author of this talks about the fact that, hey, YouTube comments don't really have a great reputation and they need to be cleaned up, and this is an opportunity to do so.
I feel like Google Plus has something, one of the things that it has going for it is that it's very well organized. I think it's a joy to read a conversation that originates in Google Plus. You've got nice threaded comments. It's easy to follow. You can reply to people. You can plus one. The whole thing is set up nicely. And it would make sense that Google would want this to be a uniform experience across its properties so that they work the same way. And YouTube comments, are a mess. And why not try to make them somewhat better? There's actually a funny, there's a funny article over on the Next Web right now. And Brian, you can pull up my computer. That one of YouTube's co-founders, Jawed Karim, has asked, because he's no longer part of the decision-making process, why the bleep do I need a Google Plus account to comment on a video? Which, of course, is getting a lot of attention because, he was part of YouTube in the beginning days. So that's an interesting quote from someone who's like, I just don't get it. Why would you want to do that? But, it's kind of like having a Google Plus profile in order to have a Gmail account. It's not something that you necessarily, it doesn't mean you're you're required to make YouTube comments. I don't know, Amber. I don't know why this is such a bad thing. I think that nobody likes the idea of sort of being forced to be part of a social network that they don't want to be part of, and that seems like what's going on here. But I feel like I have Google profiles in a few different places that I don't actively use, and it doesn't really bother me.
And I think we talked about this before on this show, that Google is just determined to make sure that Google Plus succeeds. And they'll do everything to ensure that it's around for a long time, even if they force you to use it for reasons like this. So I think we've seen Google kind of positioning themselves in this way where they are not just encouraging people to try things out, they are literally forcing you to do it. And this is no exception. But again, I go back to the commenting on YouTube, and it's a total mess. I mean, the reality is that it's mainly pretty negative. There's a lot of bullying that happens within the commenting section, which is not a good thing, of course. And so I think this is an opportunity where all of a sudden more people actually have to put their names to the comments and in some ways be accountable for them.
Yeah, and you know, the video that we're looking at right now, which just kind of shows how this whole thing would work, it really is encouraging more people in the same community, friends and family, to be commenting on each other's videos. I mean, that's something that on Google Plus, if I go to my Google Plus profile right now and look at my feed, people are sharing all kinds of videos. Well, that's fine. When it happens on Google Plus, that's great. I think that Google realizes, I mean, YouTube is such a huge property, but nobody would ever say, oh, the YouTube comments are really fun and helpful. It's a joke. I mean, they're a joke because they're so awful.
Yeah.
And that's just, you know, there's anonymity problems. There's just, you know, it's kind of gotten out of control. Sort of a commenting monster is created. I mean, I always say, for the worst possible example of the internet, go and check out some YouTube comments, and you'll feel really bad about humanity.
It's true. Did that video, Sarah, say how to make cheeseburger cupcakes, or am I just dreaming that?
I don't know. Brian, did it? I wasn't paying attention. I was just looking at the comment box. But if so, I'm intrigued as well.
I'm intrigued. I think that was Google's official video to explain how this would potentially work. And I believe it was a video of how to make cheeseburger cupcakes. So they certainly know how to capture an audience.
Absolutely. Cheeseburger cupcakes, says Reverb Mike in chat. Cheeseburger cupcakes. I can't find a reason to get up in arms about this. I think, hey, if you need a Google Plus account to comment on a YouTube video and you don't have one already, it's what? Yeah, okay, that's exactly what that is. Cheeseburger cupcake. Wow, weird.
It is.
But yeah, I mean, let's try out better YouTube comments, everybody. I mean, let's just try.
Yeah, let's give it a whirl. Also, some revamping happening over at Facebook with their share button and their like button. Maybe not as big of news, but nonetheless, people will probably notice a bit of the change here.
Yeah. So I thought I actually had my thumbs up, my little thumbs up before and after thing. Let's see if I can find it while we're talking about it. Yeah, I mean the whole thumbs up like image on Facebook has really not changed in a long time. In fact, I wouldn't say it's the nicest looking thing I've ever seen. But yeah, it looks like the company has been working on a new and improved version of it. Uses Helvetica font because that's just what everybody has to do, I guess, these days. And let's see. Let me try to find this. Okay, here we go. On the developer blog, they give you some examples of how this stuff will change and look a little bit different to you. Like you've got like a little nice like button, little nice share button. The thumbs up is stripped out, at least in this version. Which I don't mind. I think that we're so used to what like means that you almost don't notice it. You can also see that down below, if you were to thumbs up or like a reply that's in a threaded comment, then you do get the thumbs up. So two different versions here. But again, I think Facebook's been around long enough that I don't think there's any confusion really, at least not on my part, from something like this, and just kind of cleans it up. What do you think, Amber?
Yeah, I think also when you have the little thumbs up icon, it does feel somewhat dated because, like you said, that has been around for so long, and people just want to see the design evolve and change. So I think it's a good move on their part just to make a little tweak, especially for them to make a move that doesn't impact our privacy at all. I think that's good news for everyone.
Yeah, right. Thank you, Facebook. Just a little cosmetic
Little
work.
tweak.
Yeah. You don't have to freak out, reset your privacy settings, not a big deal, or start a petition or some sort of a
we're good with
page
that.
telling us why you're going to get off of Facebook. You know what's also kind of interesting that Facebook is doing is testing star ratings displayed on pages rather than just have a page that you can like. Now, this is something that mobile users may have already seen. This is something that Facebook has been testing for the desktop version, which even though more and more people access Facebook on a regular basis via mobile devices, obviously the desktop market is still very, very big, and Facebook is interested in having those experiences sort of mirror each other. And the idea is, if I have a brand page, I've got a small business in downtown Petaluma, and I might ask my loyal customers to like my business on Facebook. You hear that a lot. You even hear that in commercials, like us on Facebook, or, you hear at the end of some of our shows. I mean, that's just something that we do. And that sometimes is fine, but it doesn't really put Facebook on any sort of level playing field with competitors like, let's say, Yelp or some other, Amazon rating system, which even though you always have to assume that, some reviews are fake and take certain things with a grain of salt, and there's gaming of the system that goes on. In general, review type rankings for businesses can be really helpful. If it's not a very good review for a business, the business isn't going to be that happy about it, but people who are using Facebook will begin to rely on Facebook as a good place to lean on when you're trying to figure out if you should actually take your business to one particular establishment or another. I don't know, Amber. I mean, I've never used Facebook in this way, but if it worked well, I don't see any reason why I wouldn't.
Yeah, and it almost seems like this allows them to get a little bit closer to the idea of having almost like a dislike button. I know we've talked about this before, that some people thought they should have that. And it allows them to really give people the option to give almost negative reviews without saying anything too negative. So I think in that sense, it does make a lot of sense for them to do that. And, hopefully companies are ready for it and they're not totally surprised when they see that they only have 2 or 3 stars. And, I think it's an interesting move to provide more context around certain businesses especially. It also reminds me, Sarah, I don't know if you've noticed this on Twitter, sorry to switch social networks, but do you find more and more people are not retweeting and they're just favoriting? Is that just me?
Yes. It's weird because, so favorites are, I mean, we can certainly talk about it. I can pull up my Twitter stream now. Favorites are a way of, I use favorites as a bookmarking tool. I've always said this. I mean, so this is a tweet that I sent last night. It was about this guy who runs this burrito website. It's a really, really interesting story. And because, burritos. And I can see that I've got 4 favorites and 2 retweets here. So a couple people decided to retweet, but more than those people decided to favorite. And then I can see who those people are. And, I can, look back and see through time some of my some of the stuff that got I got 13 favorites on my i5 episode from earlier this week. Okay, that's good. But the thing is consistently I see a lot more favorites with tweets that I've sent or that other people have sent, because I can use a third-party service like Favestar to look that up, and you can do that within Twitter as well for other people. And I wonder why so many people do this, Amber, because it's easy enough to figure out who favorited what tweet. It's not like it's not private information, but it's something that you kind of have to go hunting for. It's not going to show up in your stream as, Amber tweeted this link to one of her future speaking engagements, and it was retweeted 4 times and favorited 11. You don't see that stuff unless you kind of go searching for it.
I know. It just makes me wonder if the retweet button on Twitter is going to become almost obsolete at some point because people don't want to commit to retweeting. Because I've really noticed it in my feed that, there was a point where no one really favorited anything. And I would say the past 3 or 4 weeks, not only do other people favorite things, but I'm starting to favorite everything and retweet less and less. So I just had to ask you if it was just me because I've noticed it so much. And I wonder what type of impact that has on people who depend on Twitter for marketing or getting the word out when you're not seeing those retweets, when people aren't using that as often.
Yeah, I've got certain friends who will favorite a lot. They're trigger happy with the favorite button, and that's it's fine, whatever. And to the point where I have certain people where I'm like, so and so will favorite this. Mark my words, within 2 minutes I will have a favorite from Mike Isaac about whatever. And I'm almost always right, but that's it's almost like our private joke. Again, this doesn't help my tweet in any sort of Twitter ranking. It's all sort of like personal accolades, it's all just like this thing that I can either take into account or not. I guess it's good for your own metrics. If you're really interested in, hey, well, what kind of stuff ends up resonating the most with my audience and my community, and do the people in the design part of my life seem to get as much out of this tweet as I was hoping? Gee, none of them really favorited. Maybe I should rethink the way that I send my messages in the future. I think it's very good on a personal level, and maybe that's the right way to go. Maybe if there was any sort of like a point system with favorites, it would get out of control. But I still wonder, how does the favorite live in harmony with the retweet? Because one is public and one is not.
Yeah, and it almost seems to me, and I use favorite all the time like this, where I favorite things just to kind of give people a head nod that I've seen them. It doesn't mean, like you said, it's necessarily your favorite thing that you've read out there, but I do kind of see the demise of the retweet button. Not that that is a huge issue, but I think more and more it's harder to get retweets and get people to commit to it. But
Twitter also has no bookmarking tool. So if I see somebody who tweets like, hey, this new iPhone app is really awesome, it's called blah, 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 I'll just favorite it and move on, because chances are I don't have time to dive into this iPhone app right this second, but I don't want that tweet to just go away and I know I won't remember. So it's my bookmarking tool, and then every so often I go through all my favorites and I unfavorite things that I've either followed up on and decided, that's not really right for, maybe anything that I'm going to show off on Twit, or I already talked about this and I don't need to save it anymore. And then I wonder, if somebody's really on top of the fact that I've favorited something, is it weird that they notice that I have unfavorited it later? Because it really wasn't ever personal to begin with. Wow. But we're not having a conversation about that, so I don't know how it's implied.
That's it. I think I'm going to have to write an article about this, Sarah, because I'm so intrigued by the favorite button. Maybe there are other people who aren't as intrigued, but I do have to say, I wonder if Paul Gunton on Twitter is being cheeky because he just favorited our tweet about being live now. So you know what? You should retweet, and then other people will watch as well. Oh, he retweeted as well.
Oh,
he's playing games with us, Sarah.
A retweet and a favorite. Somebody is getting extra points today.
Interesting. And now on to Instagram. I think this is probably also a good move for Instagram. They have blocked hashtags related to selling drugs.
That's right, Amber. Instagram has blocked hashtags related to selling drugs. It's exactly how it sounds. Now, of course, it's not every single hashtag that could possibly be related to selling drugs, but I've talked to some folks. This is not just on Instagram, by the way. This is not some sort of an issue that just exists on Instagram, but I have talked to some folks who work on that team. And it's amazing how Instagram has been used. And we've talked about this in the past, people selling goats on Instagram, I think it was. There are certain areas of the world where there may be a really, healthy trade in some good or service. And taking a picture of something and putting it up on an Instagram account, where a lot of other people have Instagram accounts, can kind of work as a commerce solution. Not for everything, but for some stuff. Well, there is quite a controversy about the black market for illicit substances. Silk Road, anyone, is just one of the names that gets thrown out as far as a black market for things that are illegal. And I think Instagram has probably come up against enough pushback from people saying, you know, it's if you don't try to put a damper on some of the stuff, then you're part of the problem. But what do you think? What do you think about shutting down certain hashtags that are really just terms that are part of the service and how it works?
I think it's probably a good move. It's so funny because I cannot even go into this topic without thinking about the mayor of my city right now, because he's under fire for smoking crack. He's admitted to that recently.
Yes.
And I just keep thinking, hopefully he never hears that you can buy drugs through Instagram potentially. But nonetheless, I think it's a good move for them. I mean, the last thing they want is to really have that impression, especially to parents. I think more and more teens that I talk to are using Instagram, and the reality is it just gives them a really, really bad reputation if they know people are doing this on a regular basis. So I think it's a very smart move, and parents will probably feel better about that decision and their kids using the service.
Absolutely. A spokesperson for Instagram says people can't buy things on Instagram. I mean, even though, as we mentioned, that is sort of something that you see happening. That's not what the service is for. They say people can't buy things on Instagram. We are simply a place where people share photos and videos. Of course, 6 months ago, you weren't sharing videos either, but Amber, I am not going to dwell on the Toronto mayor, although I have to say, I mean, it's really captured the hearts and minds of, I don't know, I mean, certainly me. I'm just fascinated with the whole thing because it's so weird. But boy, I don't know. I think there was somebody in my Twitter stream who's, I don't know if he's Canadian or not, but he said, I've never seen so many Americans obsessed with the political intricacies of Toronto. And for such a stupid reason, but this is one of these things that, I mean, you cannot get away from the jokes on the social networks these days. And it's not really very funny at all.
And it keeps getting worse and worse. I mean, there have been videos released over the past day that show him just in a drunken stupor and swearing about killing someone. And literally every day I'm kind of on edge when I wake up. I think, oh, there's going to be a third video. And I have to kind of laugh about people tweeting out and saying, I hope it's not a sex video. I couldn't agree more with that, because nothing would surprise me at this point. It's very embarrassing, I think, for the entire city of Toronto, and doesn't really do us any good at all. And hopefully he will step down, but who knows? And the Twitter jokes, they just keep coming, Sarah.
Well, what do you mean? What do you mean hopefully will step down? I mean, do we just have to hope that he does the right thing? I mean, isn't there some sort of an impeachment policy?
He is so stubborn. I mean, I think people know that historically he's absolutely so stubborn. He has said even a couple of days ago that the people can vote when we have an election next year, later next year. And the reality is there's no way for people to kick him out of office right now. So there's not much people can do except that hope that he will realize that this is really not doing any good for the city, and he can step down on his own, but we cannot make him step down, which is really unfortunate, because I think it's time. I mean, not only is it bad for the city, it is also, I consider his health and his life and his young children. I mean, the reality is this is not doing anyone any good. So it's an ongoing story, and the journalists in Toronto are having a field day, as I'm sure you can imagine.
Oh, I bet they are. That is just, I mean, it's crazy. It's just, everything about it is crazy. But I don't know, I felt... It is a big social media story, so okay, we've talked about it.
It is big, and actually later on we have our meme of the week, and I didn't plan it this way, but Rob Ford makes an appearance in our meme of the week after our second ad, I believe.
I see. Well, we'll want to stay tuned for that, won't we all, actually? But first, let's take a quick break and thank SAP. They're our first sponsor of this episode of The Social Hour. Social media solutions from SAP helps companies use social media to improve their customer service and their support processes, because the conversation happens on social media. We were talking about a rating system on Facebook earlier in the show. Well, people use Facebook to talk about all sorts of stuff. And when it comes to businesses and possibly the business of the brand you're running social media for, it might not always be good. People are upset and they rant about stuff. They talk about a product not working. It's your job, of course, to be that smoother over of everything. You want your customers to be happy. You want them to say great things about your company. And if there's a problem, you want to be the help that they need to walk away a happy customer. Social Media Solutions from SAP helps large enterprises listen and engage in a systematic way with their customers. The listening component searches the social web to know what's being said about your brand. Are customers liking your new product? You can capture reports on conversations about relevant terms. There might be certain terms that you're very interested in knowing about. Maybe you've got a big competitor just launched their own product. You want to know what people are saying about them. You want to make sure that you're on a level playing field. You can build better products because you can incorporate real-time customer feedback into future efforts. And of course, you can identify those customers who are kind of, sort of, probably ready to buy, but they might need just a little question answered from you first in order to make the leap. Social Media Solutions uses natural language processing, NLP for short, which automatically knows the difference between statements like, this app has never been good, means you don't like it, or this app has never been this good, meaning, hey, I love the app update. They sound very similar, they mean very different things, and you can concentrate less on the little differences between those two statements because SAP is doing your work for you. I mean, think about that. You could actually use your efforts towards, other stuff. Engaging, for example. The engaging component is actually part of Social Media Solutions as well. Helps you drive sales, you can solve customer problems, you rapidly respond to customer feedback, you keep people happy. If somebody tweets a technical support problem, you say, well, Joe's our guy. That question just goes right to him. However your team is set up, whether you've got 100 people or 3. Social Media Solutions can work for you, especially if you work in the enterprise. Gives you more than marketing by improving the customer service and support experience. That's Social Media Solutions from SAP. Go to sap.com/twit, take a guided tour, see for yourself how Social Media Solutions from SAP works and can work for you. And thanks to SAP for sponsoring the Social Hour. All right, Amber, what is your app pick of the week?
Okay, so I just started using an app called Sunrise on my iPhone, and I was really searching around, Sarah, for a great app that would integrate my Google Calendar because I depend on all Google services for all the business stuff I do. And I've looked at a lot, and I know we've talked about others on the show before, but I really like Sunrise. Not only is it beautiful, but there is a social element to it. So let's say within Sunrise, you go to schedule an appointment in your calendar and you put someone's name in there or you invite them. You then have the option in there you can see if that person is on Twitter, on Facebook, and on LinkedIn, and you can connect with them from there. Kind of similar to services we've talked about before, like Zobni on the show, and there are many others. So great little social media element. But the big thing for me with Sunrise is just how absolutely beautiful it is. I mean, it's so well designed, and I think one of the better ones that I've seen.
Sunrise is great. I've talked about it on i5 in the past. It has been updated since then. So it's certainly the iOS version. Is it only iOS or is there an Android version as well? I believe it's just iOS.
I think it's just iOS.
I think so too. It's lovely. It really is. I use another app called Fantastical, which I also talked about this week because they just came out with a new version. And Sunrise and Fantastical are both great in their own ways. Sunrise definitely has the social edge, though. Fantastical really isn't focused so much on the contact portion of calendars and daily life. And depending on what you do for a living and how you stack your calendar, I mean, some people really rely on meetings and phone calls and the sort of who's who of what my day looks like. And I think Sunrise is probably a better bet for those folks, particularly if you have a lot of, again, contacts that you know through Twitter or Facebook or beyond.
Yeah, and then you can see their last tweet, Sarah, which is also really helpful. So I find if I open up Sunrise here, and I know you probably can't see if I hold it up here, but at the bottom, you can kind of get the sense that if I have a meeting scheduled with someone, I can see their last tweet. So I can know if they've tweeted that, hey, I'm running late, or I'm away, or here I'm doing a certain thing, whatever it might be. It also adds context to the meeting too.
That's kind of funny because for the most part, I like to think that my tweets are relevant and make sense, but sometimes they're a little off the wall. Just maybe I'm watching a basketball game and I say something and it's like 90% of the people on Twitter probably have no idea what I'm talking about. I don't even really watch basketball, but just a hypothetical situation. And if you were meeting me for the first time and that's my last tweet, and I'm like, no. I wonder what that would say about me. But I guess it does give you a little glimpse into someone's personality.
It does, right? And I do agree with you, though. I guess it means that we always talk about this on the show, but you have to be very careful about what you put out there, especially knowing if you're going to meet with someone that your tweet may appear in their calendar app. So another word of caution, I suppose.
Amber, I have to say, and stop me if you've heard this one before, but I was reminded the other day that we've been talking about Wikipedia pages and the fact that, they're not always completely accurate, and the landscape of the people who use Wikipedia and have editing privileges and kind of run the show is changing. And it can be a little bit worrisome. It's a mostly male, dwindling community, and what does that mean for stuff that's being taken as fact in the future? And I had met somebody the other day, and I thought that he thought I was very charming. And sort of a few minutes into the conversation, he mentioned something that I was like, how would you know that? And he said, well, I read your Wikipedia page. And I was like, oh, right. You know so much about me already. And it's just one of those things. It's like, it's there. It's,
Can't get rid of it.
I'm aware of it. But I have to remember that, yes, all of that stuff is publicly searchable. And there's, it doesn't take much to learn quite a bit.
And not always
via tweet
accurate.
Or otherwise. Yes.
Exactly. Now, Sarah, I was thinking about you with this social tip for the week, because I know that you have a lot of tabs open all the time.
Correct.
Right?
I have about 20 open right now.
I know. So I think even when I was visiting last year and I had a chance to hang out with you, I noticed that you had a lot of tabs open. I thought your whole machine was going to crash.
Out of control.
So I thought you would like this. This is a Chrome extension. It's called Picture-in-Picture Viewer, and it allows you to have almost like a floating window at the bottom of your browser, so that you could have something like Facebook Chat open, or if you use Google Plus Hangouts, you could have that at the bottom of the screen. So just allows you to kind of do more if you don't want to depend entirely just on going back and forth between tabs, especially with stuff that you use on a regular basis.
Yeah, this is great. Why don't I have this? Picture-in-Picture Viewer. I am installing this immediately because I like Chrome. I mean, Chrome is my browser of choice. I've got Firefox and Safari always installed, but I almost always just use Chrome. Go ahead and add this. Yep. And then Picture-in-Picture Viewer has been added to Chrome. Use this extension by clicking on this icon. Manage your extensions. Okay, all right, well. So
and I should say I found this on Lifehacker, and I find most of the stuff that is there is pretty good. It's been tested out, and this one looks kind of neat. Really simple. I mean, that's what all these extensions do, right? Something very basic.
Yeah. Oh, I see. All right. So yeah, this is that's great. That's great. It's opening. Well, do I understand how this works? Oh, I see. Oh, I've got to restart Chrome before I start playing.
It works. Yeah, there'll be a floating window. You can choose what the content is at the bottom in the floating window, or what service or site you're using.
I love this Picture-in-Picture Viewer, and the great thing about Chrome extensions is they're so easy to install, and they don't cost you. I mean, it takes you 2 seconds, and then you've got a great little picture-in-picture. You know what? One of the great examples that Brian scrolled past just now was a Facebook conversation. You can have your little Facebook chat conversation happening when you're on Facebook, but it doesn't work the same way when you're looking at something else. In this case, it looks like somebody was searching for map directions using Google. So that sort of thing is like you're mixing and matching the way that certain sites work to greater benefit the way that you use the internet. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it's very handy. And this is also kind of cool for a spotlight. You've probably seen this. It's called Context, and it is another app. It's a photo texting app, which isn't too descriptive, but the concept behind this is that it allows you to send photos as pictures, but with text on top of it. Now, I didn't think this was all that exciting, Sarah, to be honest with you, but I thought it was interesting that in the TechCrunch article, they say the new photo texting app all the cool kids are using, kind of saying that, people are still using Snapchat, but this might be even better than Snapchat in some ways because of the context around the image.
Well, I mean, you can write stuff on Snapchat as well. Well, not a lot, but explain to me why this is better than Snapchat.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're kind of alluding to that during the within the article, so I'm not sure it really is. I mean, I don't use Snapchat necessarily on a regular basis, but I think what they're saying is just maybe it's the quantity of text that you can put in there, and they're saying you can kind of streamline the communication, and it's saying that photos are a part of it, but they mentioned that text is also a big part of this equation. So it seems like they're capitalizing on Snapchat in many ways.
Yes.
But it's just a little bit different.
So I think I'm getting my head around it. This is more, Snapchat is a little bit more of just like a rando thing. Random, I'm sending Amber a funny picture and maybe I might write something or type a little something, but context is meant to be a conversation, which could be between two people or a group. So there's a little bit more organization involved. And yeah, you're having a conversation, but you're just adding pictures to it. I think Snapchat is exactly the opposite. Snapchat is about pictures, and maybe you might add some text context to it.
Yeah,
more, it's like instead of hey, it's a hey, and there's also a picture of me smiling.
Yeah, it's like a text first. So let's say, Sarah, that I'm coming out to San Francisco and we're meeting up for dinner. I'm kind of lost, and we're texting, and you say I'm at this corner and this corner, and you just snap a picture to go along with that. So I think that would be a good way to explain it. That text first, and then the picture to provide the context versus the other way around.
I like it.
It's neat.
I think, the one thing. I'm writing down context to look at so that I can play around and tell my friends. Seems like the sort of thing I might like on my iPhone. But I know, just what I need. All my friends are sick of Snapchat already. I'm the only one who's still pretty enthusiastic about it. That didn't take long. Oh well. But no, I like the idea of making something like the idea of taking a quick image that's not supposed to be beautifully framed. It doesn't need to have the best filter. It's not supposed to make you look like a great photographer. It's just supposed to kind of illustrate what's happening right this second. I really do like the idea of that. It's easier than video. You don't have to create some sort of like a, Skype connection or FaceTime or something where it's like, too much. It's just maybe a little quick, like if you say, hey, meet me at 8th and Brandon in 5 minutes, I could be like, okay, gotcha. And it just gives you a little bit more of Sarah says, okay, but I see her. And there's maybe almost like a little bit more of a body language thing as if we were next to each other.
And more useful, too. I mean, let's say that you were grocery shopping, or maybe your boyfriend, girlfriend was going out and they wanted to get something. You said, oh, get this certain brand of food. Instead of just texting it, you would text it, take a picture, but it's all kind of in one. So it almost saves you one step of adding the picture as well, because it's all meshed in there into one. I mean, it's all about images. We talk about this every week for the past, I don't know how many months we've been talking about how every tool and social network, we see that we're communicating more and more using images and not just text. So I think we're going to see a lot of services like this.
I like it. Getcontext.com if you want to see a little bit more about the company. That's good find. Good spotlight.
It's a cute one. Yep. And speaking of cute, Sarah, I don't know if you saw this. This is called Real Life Instagram. And this is an art project from a Brazilian artist who came up with this concept of bringing Instagram into the real world. And the way that he did this in London, England, during where there are some popular tourist landmarks. He actually created almost like a cardboard cutout and a actual filter that he put in between it and the Instagram design around it, if I'm explaining this well enough. And he basically attaches that near any tourist attraction, so you could take a picture of an Instagram picture in real life.
Wait, so is the Instagram picture...
So hard to explain.
So is it just basically a window with a colored glass where you're actually looking at life behind it?
Yeah, so think about it like this.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
it's an art display.
fun.
It's really cute. So he's basically taken a piece of cardboard. He cuts at the center. He puts in almost like a gel that I'm sure you've seen in TV studios all the time, just different colored gels that are almost like filters. He puts some text on it to look like the Instagram interface, and he puts them over at interesting locations in London, and obviously getting quite a bit of attention. And I think this is just fun. I mean, this is really cool. I haven't heard of it anywhere else. So I think it's very creative on his part and very social. Perfect for the show.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I think that's extremely creative. It looks like it's always, it always shows up as what what he would have posted. But yeah, instead of this being on Instagram, this is stuff that he actually, it's great. I mean, it really is real life Instagram. I don't think there's a better way to describe it than exactly that. And it's funny because he's been to a lot of the places in London that I like the most, like Borough Market. So I want to go there and take a photo of his Instagram installation. I wonder how long they'll stay.
I don't know. At first, I was very confused. I was like, "What is this? Is this an app?" Or, I had no idea. But then I read
some
further.
new QR code that we have to figure out. Yeah, no, I think it's just fun.
Yeah, it's just interesting to just a different perspective, I think, and bringing Instagram into the real physical world. So
who would have thought a few years ago that we would see something like that and be like, "Wow, how cool and original." I mean, honestly, 3 years ago today, was there even an Instagram? I mean, that's right around this time, right? And let's say 4 years ago, there wasn't one. And we'd be like, what? I mean, it would be impossible to explain to somebody what that is. But now it makes perfect sense to me.
It does. And it's funny. I actually remember for some reason, I remember taking my first Instagram photo. I don't know what that says about me, Sarah, if I have a pathetic life, but I know exactly where I was. I know exactly what picture it was. And I just, it was a moment because I thought, oh, this is really cool. The filters were a big deal at the time. And you're right. It was only a couple of years ago. And the reality is now, I mean, there are filters in absolutely everything. But I thought it was amazing. I put on a really cool filter. I was in Los Angeles at a hotel pool and I took a picture of my face. I put on a filter I thought was awesome. And now I look back at it. It looks like, when they do those x-rays to see how much skin damage you have?
Yes, I do. Oh, that's what you look like.
That's what it looks like. I don't know what I was thinking. Maybe that's why I remember it.
Well, full disclosure, I also remember my first Instagram photo, and it was a photo of myself because I was like, I guess that's what I'll do. And it was in the Twit cottage next door where we all used to be packed in. And yeah, it's a really bad filter. It's like the filter I would never use again. But that's the first one that I chose as well. So I don't know what that says about us, but we both remember our first Instagram.
It's very sad, sure. I think it's sad.
And there's probably some sort of like, oh, there you are. There you are.
Yeah.
Brian's been hard at work finding your
at the very bottom there.
Your skin cancer photo there.
It's not really. I mean, the thing is, probably what I was thinking is no one's using this, and I'm just testing it out.
Right.
There's another warning for you. These things may become popular, so watch out.
Yeah, exactly. Good. Well, look, you were very abstract back then.
I don't know what I was doing. It was my mom's birthday, so I do remember that we were in LA together. But I was having a lot of fun with it, and not realizing that it was going to be a pretty big deal at one point.
Yeah, it's tough to know. We talked about Instagram on Net at Night when Net at Night was still Net at Night, and that they had reached some milestone. It was like 170,000 users or something like that, and it was something where the company was like, "Oh, we have a lot of users," and now look at them now. So
yep.
It just gets more and more fun, and now you've got real life photo installations based on it. All right, speaking of real life, we should take a moment to thank Audible, and the reason we should is because Audible makes it so easy for you to keep up on books that you are interested in while not having to give up a lot of the life that keeps you from reading books. By that I mean, what if you spend a lot of time in your car? I commute a lot, I'm stuck in my car. Well, what am I gonna do? I can listen to things I certainly can't read. That's where Audible comes in, because it's such an amazing way to be able to keep up on so many different kinds of books. You've got literature and fiction and nonfiction and even some periodicals. You can search for a particular book that you heard was just absolutely amazing. I've never read, I've never read As I Lay Dying. And I know that's, Faulkner, it's a big classic. Maybe I should read that. I don't know. I mean, when am I really going to do that? Well, I take a lot of long walks. I go to the gym. Wouldn't it be nice if I was really on a roll with a book and I could just keep that going in my headphones and be able to say, yeah, I actually read that book. I listened to it, and it's actually even more fun. What you do is go ahead and sign up, and you can just start browsing. See what kind of books are available to you. And you'll be pleasantly surprised because they've got over 150,000 downloadable titles. So it's not like 10 or 15,000. It's a lot of books. Great, great, great stuff. And also their categories are organized really nicely. And then if you go to audiblepodcast.com/social hour, you can see that Audible is giving a free audiobook away to you as a chance to try out the service. A lot of people say, audiobooks, I don't know. I don't know if that's for me. Reading, books are for reading. It seems strange. I also used to feel that way. And once I tried it, I realized, not only is this something that I can incorporate into my busy life so that I'm actually reading rather than not reading at all, but I kind of prefer it. Certain books are just really nice to be read to you. You can kind of let your mind wander a little bit. Amber, do you have that feeling as well?
I do, and I have that more and more. And in fact, at night, I've started listening to audiobooks, which is a strange thing to do. But I just find instead of watching TV, because sometimes I feel like there's nothing on, or maybe I've watched all the series I want, I just like to listen to an audiobook. And Sarah, I do want to recommend something because I'm a huge fan of the show Shark Tank on ABC. And I love watching all the entrepreneurs pitching different ideas. And it looks like there's a Shark Tank book coming out in 4 days on Audible, an audiobook that talks about how to jumpstart your business, how to launch and grow a business from concept to cash. And like I said, the release date is November 12th, so just a few days away. So if people also like that book and you're entrepreneurial or love the show, then it looks like this could be a really great first book for free that you could pick up on Audible.
That's an amazing pick. I love that. And yeah, you're not the only one. People love that show Shark Tank because it's not just, sort of a reality show, but it's actually about, entrepreneurs and business and getting a great idea off of the ground. So if we haven't convinced you, I think you should go to audiblepodcast.com/social hour, sign up, get started, enjoy that free audiobook. At the end of your trial period, you can cancel and you get to keep that book. But you'll probably love Audible so much you'll be like, no, well, now I can't live without it. And you can sign up for a subscription. Again, that is audiblepodcast.com/social hour. You go fiction. You can do sort of a how-to of business. You can read the Shark Tank book. It's coming out, what'd you say, November 12th? Yeah, that's right around the corner.
Just a couple days away.
Exactly. And it's Audible. Audible has been a loyal sponsor of Twits for years. We appreciate them very much. So thanks to you, Audible, for sponsoring this episode of The Social Hour. All right, let's get into some of our viewer feedback. This first story comes from Stan. He lives in Simi Valley, California. I'm not exactly sure I've ever been there. It's down south somewhere. He says, I'm including a link to a web page because it better describes how important this particular organization has become by the use of Facebook. He links us to the Simi Valley Acorn. I guess it's a local paper, or one of them. He says, without Facebook, their success would have not been accomplished. This is an older article, but it shows how the organization was started. Facebook groups like this one, and this is all about an animal rescue organization, have been popping up all over the place. It's called Simi Valley Missing Pets. He says, I know you love cats, Sarah. And this group, because of the use of Facebook, has rejoined lost cats and dogs with their families. Please check it out, and may you also help spread the word. So yeah, this is a great story about, it's kind of a general story. This happens to be just one organization where they talk about a couple specific incidents where somebody had lost their pet and they found out that this organization, which is all based around kind of rallying cry, like a neighborhood watch really, a greater neighborhood watch for a certain region, can have something like a Facebook page that's just a perfect use of something like this. As long as you have enough people in the community, and we've talked about this kind of like municipal efforts in towns and cities that are on board with stuff like this, it can end up being, and actually, look, there's almost 10,000 people involved who are like, we're going to monitor this sort of thing. And it's sort of like the modern day putting signs up on telephone poles kind of thing. And imagine how happy everybody is when people are reunited with their pets. So perfect example of Facebook page.
That is a great one. Sarah, I'll take the next one, but do you know the person's name for the next one?
Yeah,
I'll let you find it and I'll
Okay.
just start reading it.
All right.
So this is an email we got in. And last week we were talking about an app called Front Back. So you could take a picture of what's in front of you and what's behind you at the same time, meaning kind of a selfie and whatever you're looking at. And we had an email that says, my Galaxy S4 has a similar setting to the Front Back app as one of its stock features. I think we also mentioned this. No extra app required. My wife and I used it to take tons of fun selfies while we were on vacation last summer in New England. Getting the faces overlaid with what we were seeing adds a neat twist to the shot. When she saw my Samsung phone could do that, she was ready to trade in her iPhone 5 on the spot. In any case, I was listening to the latest show while I was doing a long run while camping at the Outer Banks of North Carolina. Per your request, I snapped a shot after my run and took a quick front-back shot of the view. So that's very fun. Wow, what a view. Looks beautiful.
And that's cooler than the Front Back app for sure. By the way, this came from Rapid Eye, which is like Rapid EYE or RE for short, which is probably why I had forgotten to put his name in the email, but Rapid, we wouldn't forget you. This is very cool. I love this. I mean, it's obviously this is a very specific style. Maybe his particular phone has different little templates, or maybe it always has to look like a postage stamp, but yeah, it looks. Look, we're doing it as well. We're here with you. But yeah, I love this. I think in general, it's such a nice way to. It's like selfie, but more than selfie. It is. Again, it's just proving context. Like, I'm a happy runner because look at my view.
It's very cute. And just because I have an S4, I know you can kind of take that particular postage-like image and you can stretch it out. You can move it around a little bit into different parts of the screen. So it's neat. I mean, I think the Front Back app, it gives equal weight to both photos, so they're the same size. But with the S4, it typically is a lot smaller, but still very cute.
Our next email comes from, what is wrong with me? Why am I not putting anyone's emails in? This is actually something I can find pretty easily. Best use of, well, maybe I can't. I don't know. I have some sort of an issue not putting people's names in our rundown. I will find it. But this is from a gentleman who writes in and says, I just listened to the article about the Back to the Future Twitter feed. So that was last week's, was it our Rad or Fad?
I think it was a spotlight.
Yeah, it was a spotlight, which was that you showed off, which was the recreating of Back to the Future as a Twitter feed, which is just hysterical.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah, with different characters having their own Twitter accounts to make up the dialogue. He says, I thought you might like this. Our Town is a social media soap opera based in the north of England that is run by Oldham Theatre Workshop. We're running this as a social action project and would really like your thoughts and feedback. All right, so we're kind of doing this on the fly because we got this email recently.
Yeah.
So it's like a social media soap opera.
Huh. Sounds interesting.
So I kind of love this. So this is a fictional place. They're calling it Our Town. So you can see. All right, let's look at Millwood Live. You've got the characters. I see. So this is why this is why it got sent in to us, because we're following the social media soap opera for Oldham. These are Our Town residents and people who are part of. Okay, so this is cool. So this is basically a soap opera playing out on Twitter as well, but there's actual characters that they've got their own little Twitter handles.
Okay, so that is kind of like the Back to the Future movie.
Exactly, but this is actually, I mean, Back to the Future is a finite, it already has a beginning, middle, and end, right? I mean, we can recreate it and try to be as clever as possible. Well, we're not doing anything, but the people who are. But this is like a story is still unfolding soap opera, like it never ends, it's following the lives of these fictional characters, which is super cool. I love the idea of this. I'd love to do something like this just for fun.
Yeah, that is a really fun. See, people are so creative, Sarah. I don't know where they find the time, but it's very creative to do something like this. I love it.
This is so cool. I always sort of wanted to be an actress, Amber, and I know I've never had any training and I wouldn't be any good, but this is like the kind of thing I think it would be really fun to participate in, because it's like, if I know anything, it's social media. I could do this.
Sarah, you could still act.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'm ready to give it my all at this point.
Maybe a cameo.
Maybe, yeah. I play
you
myself.
could do a cameo. Yeah,
So, maybe
that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, somebody, Michael Bay, can have me play myself in one of his big blockbuster movies. I'd be fine with that. That would be okay with me.
I always laugh because I see some Toronto news anchors that I know they end up in really big Hollywood movies that are shot up here, and it's so funny. Just the little quick cameos, right?
Yeah, a friend of mine who I grew up with, she is a news anchor, and she's back in the Bay Area now, but she spent a few years in Albuquerque, New Mexico, on one of the popular affiliates there, and she got to be in an episode of Breaking Bad.
Oh.
Because there was some montage, it was like the third season or something, where it was a bunch of news anchors talking about, where the DEA is cracking down on the rampant meth organization that's, whatever it was. That's not a spoiler, by the way. And she was one of the anchors who says, tonight at 11, we've got that, and I went, I called her up like, I can't believe you just got on Breaking Bad, because she actually is a news anchor in Albuquerque, and they were shooting on location, and it all made sense.
Yeah, you see it a lot. So there's still hope for you, Sarah.
Maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
It's all good.
That'd be awesome.
Okay, so this is our meme of the week, and I did not hear about this until today, but it turns out after doing a little bit of work that this meme has been around for a while, but for some reason over the past week or two, it's really taken off. And this is the Doge meme, and it's based on a little dog who shows up in photoshopped images, and basically there is text on top of the images in terms of what the dog must be thinking. So for our first little image we have here, and I'll explain this for our audio listeners, you can see that we have the dog beside Mayor Rob Ford, the mayor of Toronto, and the dog saying, such enabler, very mayor, much crack, so sorry, wow, and a couple other things. So he's a cute little dog who travels around through all these different memes.
Aww,
and it's getting a lot of attention. Yeah, so this was on Gawker. There's a story on Gawker about why this is actually a good internet meme, because they're saying that a lot of them really aren't that interesting, but they're saying that this is one of the better ones, and this dog is he's getting popular.
Brian is cracking up in the background, by the way. He can
that's
barely
awesome.
keep it together. This is very much
love
Brian.
it.
This is Brian humor right here. I love this though because it's funny. It's like, the whole thing is like dogs are like, I want to be a people too, but I don't get it quite right. But it kind of makes sense anyway.
It does, and he shows up in all these random places. So there's a lot of a lot of him.
Very head rubbings. Wow.
It's not just about cats on the social hour. We have to have our canine friends too, Sarah.
I want him. He's so cute, and he dresses up in little things, and he hangs out with the mayor of Toronto.
That's not a good thing. That's not going to be good for his
no.
reputation. I just should warn that dog.
Oh, this is so funny. Gosh, Doge. Do we think that that's how it's pronounced? If anyone else wants to correct us and let us know.
Yes, please do.
Please do, because it's a slang term for dog primarily associated with pictures of Shiba Inus. Oh, okay. Doge.
Cute.
Doge. And of course, the Comic Sans font is just the icing on the cake, because of course. Because of course that's what it would be. Of course.
Yeah, there's a whole little article on this on knowyourmeme.com if you want to learn more about this specific meme if you're interested, because they do a great job of just tracking all the different memes and the history of them, and there are a lot more than you could ever imagine.
Apparently
is he a Twinkie there? Is that
this? Yeah, now it's just starting to morph into something.
It got real
else
weird
entirely.
there all of a sudden.
We're never too many steps from real weird. That's the sort of the beauty of the internet and everything that we do. I love that. It's just a couple clicks and things get weird quick. We love hearing from all of you, by the way. If you have weird suggestions for us or great memes that you've seen, you think, oh man, this is going to be the new what the fox say or something like that.
Wow, I didn't know what you were going to say. I was like,
as it came out, I was like, that sounded weirder than I meant in my head. But you know what I mean. You can write us at The Social Hour at twit.tv. You can leave us a voicemail at 2626-SOCIAL, 2626 SOCIAL. You can record a video, upload it somewhere, send us the link, try to keep it to 30 seconds or less. Of course, Amber and I try our very best to scan the chat room, but I am motioning toward right now at my monitor that I'm looking at. Our Twitter stream, if you get a hold of us during the show, for those of you that watch the show live, Fridays 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. Not for too much longer, Amber. We should probably start telling people regularly that we'll be switching to Thursdays after the first of the year, which will be a little bit earlier in the day. It'll be 11 a.m. Pacific, 12 and 2 p.m. Eastern time. So a little earlier for you and I. And we think earlier in the week in a good way.
Yeah, I think so. I think it'll be good timing because sometimes at the end of day Friday, at least for the live show, it's especially hard for people to tune in if you're traveling and you're on the East Coast. So better timing. And also you can watch over your lunch hour if you want to, or just download after, but more opportunity for everybody.
Yeah, we're happy with it. We think it's a good change, and we're gonna have new graphics, and we're getting a new song.
Oh, they look awesome.
Yeah,
I'm so excited.
It's gonna be like, well, not a relaunch because it's the same lovable show, but a better version of it. So, so yeah, it's exciting. New year, new us. All right, let's take a moment to thank Lynda.com before we move on to our rad or fad. I'm excited about this because we have an actual testimonial from somebody that we got over the last week. But first, tell you a little bit about what Lynda.com is. It's Lynda.com, and it's an online learning community that will help anybody that's interested in learning creative, software, and business skills to achieve personal and professional goals. If you have a Lynda.com subscription, you have unlimited access to a vast library of current, engaging, and high-quality video tutorials across all sorts of subjects, like, oh, I don't know, maybe you're ready to take the leap into WordPress. You want to make your own blog from scratch, but you feel a little out of your element. That would be a great tutorial to take. You can learn to take better photos for all your social media. You know, maybe you think like, gosh, I don't really take photos that look good like some other people. Well, there is a technique to it. You can learn to market your product or your website through SEO. You can learn how to advertise using Google AdWords, Microsoft Excel to create pivot tables and analyze data. You know, I should probably admit, I've never really understood how to use Excel properly. I'm one of those people who are like, I understand that this is a really, really powerful tool, and I don't really know the ins and outs of Excel. I never have. That would be something I would be really interested in learning. We got an email, though, from Chris in Sydney, Australia, who says, Lynda changed my life. Before meeting Lynda, I had been struggling to learn all about Lightroom. I bought several books to try to help me, but it was too difficult, and to tell you the truth, I'd kind of given up. Then I heard about Lynda.com. I used the special introductory offer as a free first date. I love how he's making it seem like she's a date. And I was sold from the very first meeting. I've now signed up for a full year, including all the training material, and now you can't separate us. It's easy. I would recommend it to all of your viewers. That's great. I mean, Chris, that's a kind of testimonial that's worth
thank you.
more than us just trying to convince you that it's a great thing. I'm so glad that you got something out of your Lightroom tutorial. I could use that too. Lightroom is one of those software programs that's sort of on my list, and I wouldn't know the first thing about it. It's a mystery to me. It doesn't have to be. You could be just like us. Easy to follow videos, help you find the answers you need. You can skip around depending on what you're interested in. You can make sure that the curated course content is specified to what you are interested in learning about. Each Lynda.com course is structured so that you can learn from start to finish, or you can pick a chapter. You can kind of go a la carte. Or the whole tasting menu, I guess you could say it if you want to compare it to food. This is great stuff, though. It's only $25 a month for access to Lynda's entire course library. You want to get smart, you want to learn a lot of new skills, this is the place to do it. For $37.50 a month, you can subscribe to the premium plan, which also includes some extras like exercise files, let you follow along with an instructor's project using the exact same assets that the instructor has. You can, though, start off with a 7-day free trial, and that's the place to do it. I mean, Let's get going here. Let's take advantage of some free time at Lynda. Go to lynda.com. That's lynda.com/social hour. Access the entire library. That's over 2,000 courses. A lot to choose from. Free for 7 days. Put your thinking cap on. Take some notes. Go crazy. That's lynda.com/social Social Hour, and we thank Lynda for their support of our show. All right, Amber, what do we got on Red or Fad this week?
All right, Sarah, we're coming into the holiday season, so we're going to see a lot of different social media campaigns in the marketing sense. And this one is from Pinterest and Topshop. So they have come up with this idea. It's actually what they call a 360 campaign. And the idea being that it is online as well as offline. People will be able to go into Topshop and they'll be able to, at least in one of their stores, go in and actually use a gigantic screen and play around with a Pinterest-like experience. They're calling this Dear Topshop, and they just want to educate people more about some of their products and are giving them an opportunity to do so in a Pinterest-like way. So again, the online and the offline experience, hence the big screens. And we're seeing a lot of big screens, I think, in stores and shopping, and giving people the opportunity to look at products in a different way. So what do you think, Sarah?
Well, I really like Topshop. I like the store. So I'm already like, this is interesting. I'm kind of into this. I like it. I think that it's anybody who's, well, okay, I'm generalizing too much, but I was going to say anybody who's interested in fashion is probably can get a lot out of Pinterest. I think that the two just completely go hand in hand. And I think that any brand that is trying to, excuse the term, leverage how big Pinterest is right now and how cool it is to figure out a way to use Pinterest to get people to interact more with your brand is really, really smart. So yeah, if you're in the store and you have some sort of a way to make it feel Pinteresty, I think that's very smart on their part, because Pinterest is, for the most part, I mean, it's kind of a solitary experience when you're accessing it via your laptop or your mobile device or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's definitely rad. I'm so curious in terms of how they'll do this in the store. I mean, there aren't many specifics in this particular article. They talk about how they will have giant screens that will allow you to interact and pin different things, but I'm wondering, how does that actually work? So I think it's very rad. I'm just also especially curious about how it's going to work. So I would say to anyone who is in New York City, because I know in their New York stores they plan to have this capability, if you guys could take pictures maybe if you're in there and let us know exactly how it works, it'd be so interesting to see. They're also going to have some staff armed with iPads walking around the store, but just a Pinteresty-like feel within the shopping environment. So I think 2 thumbs up. I think it's really rad, and I think we're going to see a lot more of this in 2014.
Yes, I agree. We've got a few people in our chat room who say, oh, Sarah and Amber, you guys and your shopping. I mean, we don't talk about shopping that much on this show, but point taken. But I always want to remind people, it might not be for you, but you probably have a female friend, a sister, a mother, a grandmother, an aunt, a daughter, or some other female that you have a relationship with who might get something out of this. And let's not forget the men who also like to shop as well. There are a lot of guys on Pinterest. I know it for a fact.
And let's not forget that one of the reasons we're also talking about this is the valuation of Pinterest in the social media world. It's massive. I think we mentioned the stat that Pinterest was recently valued at $3.8 billion. Yeah. So perhaps one of the top and most valuable social networks that's out there right now.
Yeah, Pinterest is huge. It may not be for everyone, but I think we'll be seeing more and more big brands figure out how to make good integrations with something like Pinterest, because for now it is totally on the up and up. I mean, it's growing quickly. I don't know when we'll see. I don't know when we'll see the Pinterest plateau, but that was
when we see the pin drop, Sarah.
Oh, when will that? Gosh, somebody must have made that joke already, but I haven't heard it before. Good one. That was appropriately
we'll use it again.
nerdy for a Friday afternoon. That was a good one.
Perfect.
Yeah, we haven't seen the pin drop yet. I haven't anyway. No, except when I'm pinning pieces of furniture that are too expensive that I will never actually buy. But,
I hear you.
that's it. That's actually one of my Pinterest boards. Go ahead and follow it if you want. You'll see all the stuff that I wish I could buy. All right, well, we've come to the end of our social hour and gave you a little bit extra. We went a little bit over today, but that is where we are going to end it. Good show, as always, until the end of the year. Remember, we're live. If you want to join us live and participate in our chat room or just kind of see the rough and tumble unedited version of this show, Fridays at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. Of course, our website is twit.tv/TSH. That's where you can catch up on old episodes, go through some of our show notes, and make sure that if we talked about something a couple weeks ago and you can't seem to remember what it was called, or you need a link, you can find all that stuff there as well. You can subscribe to our show. We've got all sorts of audio and video feeds in a variety of formats, anything from HD to something small that's great to watch on a mobile device if you're on the go and you've got a really small screen. Try to keep it as easy as possible for you to watch the show or listen to the show if you're on the go, however you like. Amber, do you have anything awesome coming up in the next week before I see you again?
I have a couple more speaking events early in the week, so I will be back in my little studio, though, by Friday for the show. So a couple of speaking events and a few other things going on, but no travel or anything crazy. What about you, Sarah?
You know, it's going to be a pretty quiet weekend and quiet week ahead. I think I'm just relishing in the don't really have anything going on before the holidays get crazy and.
I hear you.
I never really have very far to go because I'm kind of a local, but it just always ends up getting crazy anyway. You got holiday parties and people taking time off, and there's a lot of traffic, and it's kind of like the pre-holiday quiet period.
Yes. It's nice. It's nice to relax for a bit. So that's exactly what I'm going to do this weekend, and a little bit of travel, and then we'll see you guys back here next week at 4 p.m. Eastern.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. I'm Sarah Lane.
And I'm Amber MacArthur, and we'll see you soon.